Welcome to another episode at Consciously Evolving Enterprises. Your host, Ryan Dylan Brasington. As always, I'm going to try and tell these stories as engaging and dramatic as possible. Sometimes I might even put on a voice or two. Please excuse my mistakes or any slip-ups. These stories are unscripted as they do come from personal experiences. So let's go on and enjoy this one. As always, when we're young, we need to share flats or have roommates. I'm sure some of you might have experienced that. So this is a story about when Dylan lived with Clint, and unfortunately, Clint did suffer with schizophrenia. Now, this is a very normal condition and a very livable condition, as long as someone maintains their medication and a healthy lifestyle. But unfortunately, Clint chose not to live a healthy lifestyle and chose to consume drugs and alcohol and obviously diets were what he could grab because that was just Clint. So I'm going to let you guys hear this story, I guess. Anyways, young Dylan living with Clint, who's been probably living with him for about 6 months at this time. And they're getting along pretty well. There's been a few episodes already where Dylan's come home and Clint may have been, over the couch, leaning over a piece of paper with a pen, saying, look at these drawings that I'm drawing. I'm not even moving. They're drawing themselves. And they're kind of like lightning lines and on a piece of paper and jagged lines. Nothing too dramatic. Every now and again there'd be an episode where he might be doing something like that, or he's saying that Seinfeld was predicting the future. All that. Letterman was talking to him. So there were some times that could be stressful. There were some times that you'd kind of help calm him down, and you'd never dismiss what he's saying, but distract from what's going on. Then you start talking about the picture on the wall and where it came from and who the artist is, and distract from that situation. But anyways, so one time at home, young Dylan comes home and Clint's drawing, and he says, I'm the left wing of the Lord, and Dylan's looking at him and he goes, all right, Clint, yeah, no worries, mate. This time Dylan's got his girlfriend with him, and he's thinking, yeah, not going to get into the dramatics, Clint, just going to go into our bedroom and, have some alone time. It was a nice apartment just short of the beach, nice little cafe in that next door, and so left Clint there, drawing his pictures. Anyways, not long after, a few hours pass, and young Dylan's in the bedroom, and he hears Clint going, piss off, get out, go away. He's thinking, Clint's having a full-on episode this time. What's going on? And he's like, he starts to, get out, just fuck off, go, just get out. And he's going, oh no, man, like this is pretty serious. Clint's on the pass out. Sorry, just went on pause. There we go. Um, Dylan's laying in bed and he leans over to his girlfriend at the time and he says, shit, I think Clint's having an episode. And she can hear him, piss off, go away, just get out, go, just leave. And she goes, oh, I think you've been in it. I think you better go and check on him. He goes, yeah, all right, no worries. And so he's walked over to the door, he's opening his bedroom door, and it opened up to looking at Clint's feet, who was laying on the couch at this time. And he goes, he's looking at the feet, no big drama. He's opening up the door a bit further and, trailing up the eyes. It goes up the body. Clint's laying on the couch and opens it up fully. And now he's looking at the head of the couch where Clint's head is, obviously laying down, and sitting on the end of that couch is this little old lady dressed in white with long black hair, tobacco stained teeth, wrinkly old thing, and she's leaning over him and she's chomping her jaw like this, and she's going, my house, you get out, like this. And I've looked at him and I've gone, what? And I've looked at her and then looked back at him and then looked at her, looked back at him, and he's froze. He's crossed his arms in front of him, clenched fist on his chest, and he's froze looking at me. And like I took 2 steps back and I said, Clint, Clint, who is that? And as soon as I said that, he sat up and slid across the other side of the couch, And he goes, man, I don't know who she is. I don't know where she come from. So young Dylan's made his way over and he says, who are you, ma'am? And she's like, my house, my house. Whoa, excuse me. Have a look around. Is anything yours, he asks. And she's like looking around and she says, well, no, nothing's mine. This isn't your apartment. That's because nothing here is yours. You don't live here. What number do you live in, lady? And, oh, well, I live in number 19. Okay, what's your name? She says, my name's Anne. I live in number 19. Well, this is number 21. I'm sorry, Anne, you've come into the wrong apartment. And anyway, so Clint, I look at Clint, and, Clint's there curled up on the other side of the couch, and he's going like this, shuddering in the spot. And, Dylan says, well, I'll walk her outside, Clint. I'll walk her home back down to her apartment, which was directly downstairs. So God knows how Anne had got lost. But anyways, he's walking her out and has a sniff, and he can smell whiskey on her breath. And he's thinking, oh, all right. Anne's gotten pissed. She's got a bit of Alzheimer's. She's gone for a wander. She's gotten lost. She's come into this apartment, nice beach apartment. No one really kept their doors locked. Had an old sit on the end of the couch there and warmed herself up to Clint. And Clint's obviously thought she was a part of his episode, thinking she wasn't real until the point I come out, and said, mate, like, who is she? And he sat up in disbelief. Anyways, walking her out the door, we get to the stairs. Anne and Dylan up the top of the stairs. Are you ready, Anne? Yeah, no worries, Anne. Let's go. Anyway, starts to make her way down the stairs. And as Dylan and Anne get to the bottom stairs, Anne loses her footing. So literally 2 feet go up in the air, and she's, in an L position before gravity took hold and plonked her down on her ass on the bottom stairs. And Dylan's trying to take hold of it. She's just flopped like a sandbag. And she smack, this smack on the ground. And he's thinking, oh, she's actually seriously hurt herself here. What's going on? Oh, my God. And anyways, Anne hobbles up and she gets up and I'm all right, and then hobbles off into her apartment number 19, closes the door and never to be seen again. Literally, never to be seen again. Anyway, so he's far out. Dylan makes his way back upstairs, go back into the apartment. Clint's on the couch shaking. Do you want a cup of coffee, Clint? Yeah, mate, I'll have a cup of coffee. So anyway, made a cup of coffee, didn't think much else of it, went to bed. Next day, wake up, Dylan's, oh, how you doing, mate? Clint's literally standing at the front door, sniffing the air. What? And I said, Clint, you all right, man? And he turns around, I can smell her dead body. I can smell her dead body. And Dylan looks at her, looks at Clint, and he says, what, man? What? What are you talking about? And he walks over and he says, man, I can smell that lady's rotting flesh. I can smell her dead body. She died last night. And I was, as you all would be, taken back for a minute. And, Dylan's took his pose and he saw, hang on. It takes a few days for rigor mortis to kick in. It takes any body, when happening, unfortunately, it takes a few days to rot and any smell to occur. And realising in that moment that if it takes up to 7 days for a body to stop rotting, and Clint is adamant that he can actually smell a dead body, he probably can. And this is an episode that he's having. He's having an episode right now claiming to smell a dead body. To him, he could fully smell a dead body, and Dylan walks out to the same spot, has a big whiff, and can only smell the seaweed from coming down from the water at the local, from the local cafe and the local waterway, lake down the street. And he thinks, oh, right, Clint, we're going to close the door, make you a cup of coffee, we're going to put a movie on. Anyways, didn't really think about the choice of movie, probably a poor choice, but decided we're going to put Evil Dead on, and that one was about evil possession in a forest, about an evil book that Clint just probably shouldn't be watching when suffering with schizophrenia and, trying to be distracted from an episode. But anyway, sat down, we watched the movie, decided not long after that we're going to open up the door, and then Clint went for a wander, come racing back in later on that night, claiming he'd seen a dead body up next to the cafe, and it was, someone that looked like they'd been bashed. So we went down and had a look, and there was nobody there. There was nobody there. And he's looking at us and he's going, there they are up the street. There, he's pointing, they're stumbling up the street just there. And we're all looking in the same spot and there was nobody there. So the episode of Anne coming in had sparked him to have an episode of schizophrenia where he really did start to see and smell a dead body. Yeah, very interesting one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, feedback, whatever you'd like. Cheers.